Good evening. Welcome to Focus on Education. I'm Angie Agle, and with me tonight I have Bruce Lay, and we're going to be talking about the progress we've made in academic achievement and what needs to happen going forward, since at the end of the year we're going to have 2 new members of the Board of Education. So what we've got so far as of the meeting Monday night in the budget presentation, we learned that we've made really pretty good progress, that Glenwood is up 12.5% in reading, Linden is up 9% in English, Language Arts, and Science, Willowbrook up 29.3%. In the TCAP overall, they doubled their performance in reading and they're up 31.9% in math. Woodland is up 6% in math and ELA. Jefferson, the 5th grade math has doubled in 3 years. Robertsville is up 7.1% in all subjects, and the high school is up 16.5% in Algebra 1. So that is our most recent, and that's, I think, really good progress. What do you attribute that to? What have we been doing differently in the last 3 years that's enabled that to happen?
You know, prior to COVID, we just started meeting and we looked at where we were at currently and looking at data, and we weren't pleased with where we were at, and we felt that we needed to get better as a school district. So I'm going to use the word intentionality. We became very intentional about looking at data, discussing what our expectation was, meeting with administration, coming in and discussing their schools. And of course, and it wasn't long after that, we basically, I'm going to say, became serious with PLCs, professional learning communities. And we hired PLC coaches out of ESSER money. And I'll always say this, a lot of school districts use their ESSER money for facilities and this and that, and we truly spent our ESSER funds for academics and to improve our curriculum and help students. But we hired PLC coaches, actually data coaches and STEM coaches, and they started working with teams. And basically what that allowed us to do was you had a person to work with a team of teachers and really to stay focused on data and student achievement. You know, it's easy when you get teachers together and you meet in a room, you can start talking about this problem and that problem, or maybe this field trip or this school activity or things like that. But when you follow the PLC process, you've got a person there and they work with staff to learn to follow the process. You're looking at data. Sometimes we look at data, or in the past we have looked at data, but did we really take time to change our instruction based on what that data told us? And then we also start looking at individual students. You know, and sometimes we could say, you know, 80% of this class is doing great. Well, that's good, but what are we going to do with the other 20% of our students to make sure they're being successful? So our PLCs have just been, they've just been fabulous. They've grown, they're only getting better. They will continue to get better. And I feel like we're doing the right work because we came intentional about improving what we were offering our students and getting better instruction, and our students have responded.
Well, it almost seems to me that the PLCs are sort of the grown-up equivalent of small group instruction that we do in the elementary schools, where the teacher is only working with 3 or 4 kids at a time, so they're better able to identify who needs what and address that exact thing. Is that what the PLCs are doing? It's the small groups, so the PLC coach can better see who needs what?
It is small groups working together to improve instruction for students. You know, and we've done other things too. For number one, we've done a better job of unfolding our standards, looking at what we are teaching. Does it align with what the Department of Education would say we should be teaching, so that our students are better prepared to do well on standardized tests? So we've done all that work as well, but it's about basically looking at individual student performance. You know, when you think about it, what if 60–70% of students do poorly on this one question? Okay, is it the student's fault, or basically can the teacher do a better job of covering that standard or that question, preparing that child for that test? So and it's not about a test, but at the same time, we want our students to leave with the skills necessary to compete in a very competitive world. So yes, looking at number one, are we teaching the right information? Are we teaching it in a manner that all students get it and not just a small part of the class? And if you look at the PLC process, one question it asks, what do students know? What do you do if they don't know what they should know? And that just causes everyone in that PLC to take a look at themselves and say, okay, my students did not do well with this question, or my students did not do well with this topic or this subject. They did not learn it. So what can I do as a teacher to do a better job to reteach this and prepare them so we can move on? So, and it also keeps us from leaving, once again, a certain percentage of students behind. It just requires us to look at individuals. We first started, we were looking at, and I think it's okay to say this, we were really looking at Willowbrook, and their achievement was really much lower than our other schools, and we really started there. And because of that, our concern for Willowbrook students and what was happening there, then Dr. Borchers, myself, Dr. Williams, we started meeting with principals saying, okay, here's the data for your school, what are your next steps? And we'd have those conversations, and we would also share, well, this is our expectation moving forward. Well, we had those individual meetings with administrators and basically in Dr. Borcher's office, and after the meeting we thought, that was a good meeting. We actually had an honest conversation about where our students are, where our staff is, and basically where we're at as a school as far as performance. So then we thought, you know what, perhaps the Willowbrook administration would benefit from hearing what's happening at Linden or at Woodland or at Glenwood. So we decided then to have a group meeting. And like I said, I'm going to keep using the word, we were intentional in having everyone in the room to see basically everyone had some level of success. But we wanted the other administrators to see that, okay, this school is having success here, that school is having success there. I'm not experiencing success in this area. What is that school doing that my school is not doing? So once again, everyone loves a little bit of competition, okay? So when you have those group meetings and you have all the players in the room, or administrators, okay, they start looking, and it became competitive. And then once again, in the background, keep in mind, the administrators are not doing 100% of the work. They have a PLC coach that's in the background that's assisting, and they're helping to basically, just really dissect what is good about what we're doing and what is not effective, and basically working with those groups to grow that. So we immediately started seeing growth. And Dr. Borchers, I always want to brag on Dr. Borchers. I doubt that there is a more dedicated superintendent in the state of Tennessee when it comes to continuous improvement. He is all about continuous improvement. And over the years I've learned, and even when we get good in a certain area, guess what? We're going to get better because we're about continuous improvement. So he truly has just led that expectation, and principals have bought in, and we have a great staff at central office, so everyone is working together. And you think about back to COVID, everyone talked about the learning loss in COVID. Oak Ridge schools did not see a learning loss. We saw gains during COVID, or when we came back from COVID. We saw gains because we're doing the right work.
And that is just incredible.
Yes.
I mean, to see gains during COVID where some students were only going to school every other day,
Yes.
and some were not going at all for a long time, and that the fact that they were able to still progress during that speaks very highly of our teachers.
It does.
That they were doing something amazing. What are some specific examples of things, and I'll take Willowbrook because that's the one, better than 29% improvement? That's huge. Mm-hmm. What specific things occurred to make that happen?
Step one was removing the thought that poverty is a disability. Now, once again, not every student that attends Willowbrook lives in poverty, but that was our school with the highest poverty rate. And sometimes it's easy, oh bless them. They're going home to this, or they don't have that, and let's just love them, okay? And the staff had to truly take the attitude that poverty is not a disability, and that the children at Willowbrook could learn just like any other school in Oak Ridge. The staff, I'll just be honest, Miss Laurendine, when she walked in this school, it was just, she was adamant. We will not have the attitude that poverty is a disability. Our students will achieve at the same rate, the same level as other students elementary students in Oak Ridge. And the staff bought in, and once again, through the structure of the professional learning communities, it just started happening. And you can imagine when you get to that first benchmark assessment, and all of a sudden they see, man, this a 20% jump, a 15% jump, maybe if even just a 12% jump. But staff went from, okay, we can do this, to truly believing, because they were seeing the data and it was happening. So it just went to, once again, Miss Laurentine just decided she was intentional with, we are going to improve our academic performance in this school, and we're going to do everything we need to do. We did hire more staff. It wasn't cheap to hire PLC coaches, data coaches, STEM coaches, but also all the training we provided. And if you remember, when we went back to school, and I think it was 2 years ago, we had basically the PLC conference. It was online, it was virtual, but every employee participated in that, and they got to hear the experts in PLCs. This is how you do the work, and it's hard work. I'll say there's probably easier school districts to work in than Oak Ridge schools. It is not easy work, and I just want to keep bragging on our teachers. I mean, they're the ones doing the hard work of the PLC, but it's paying off for our students, and they're going to be so much better prepared for life.
Well, and I think that when we went to one-to-one devices several years ago, and staggered getting it distributed to all grade levels, K through 12, I think that does a lot to somewhat mitigate the poverty aspect, because no longer do you have the situation where, well, these kids go home and they've got a good computer and a color printer and they can do their homework and bring in these fancy projects, and then you've got these other kids that don't have that. Yeah. Doing that has equalized it so that everybody has access to the same computer, the same software, and the teachers, I think, in recent years have increasingly learned how to use that as a tool, not as a substitute, but as a learning tool. And it's been, oh gosh, more than 40 years ago now. I remember my father saying that at some point, computers will be able to have you work a math problem, figure out what you did wrong, and tell you how to correct it based on where you made the mistake. 40 years ago, that didn't really start to occur until pretty recently.
Yes.
But yes, there are now tools where, by the child doing this work on the computer, it tells the teacher, this is where this child got this wrong. Then he or she can look at the whole class. If there's just a few, it's a matter of, okay, I need to go back and explain this one-on-one. But if it's a whole bunch of kids, maybe it's, I need to explain this better to everybody. And that helps, because without that, how would they know what needs to be retaught or who needs what particular thing? Yeah. That would make it more challenging. And so I think that they are using that tool increasingly better.
They are. You think about it, and we've always used skill and drill in schools, basically to learn skills. Well, you watch students sometimes on their devices, and that's what they're doing. Now, they think they're having fun because there's animation, little cute things, but they're doing skill and drill. And then you think about that student who didn't get it the first time. That's just a great way to reteach. And once again, they can enjoy it at the same time, and it allows teachers to put different programs on different devices, whatever that student needs. So it's working.
Well, yeah, and that's a very key point, is when the child is enjoying it, they're going to learn. I did that when I was tutoring at Willowbrook. It was a young man who he didn't want to read. He struggled with reading. And I would make a deal with him. Okay, if you will read one page, I'll let you play a math game on my iPad. This first grader was doing 4th and 5th grade math in a game and had no idea what he was doing. He had no clue how far ahead he was, because that was a prize. And eventually, I figured out what kind of books he liked, and once I found the books that he actually wanted to read, game over.
Yes. and he's improving. So, and you think about it too, when you look at the devices, I look sometimes when I'm in the community, there aren't many jobs you can hold in today's world that will not require some type of computer knowledge. So once again, putting those devices in the students' hands, and I get tickled. Just a few weeks ago, I had my phone out, and I was sort of at a stuck point. My 10-year-old grandson grabbed my phone, and he fixed it for me. Okay, so once again, the skills we're providing these students is just huge.
Okay.
So the devices were definitely the right direction to go. So
It was. I think we're going to take a little break, and we'll
Okay.
be back in just a minute.
all right, thank you.
And welcome back to Focus on Education. We're continuing to talk about our academic progress and what we need to do going forward. So that's probably, we've talked about where we've been and where we've gotten to. You're going to have 2 new board members come November. What will the board and the system as a whole need to do going forward to continue this progress?
You know, I would say the first step, once again, is remaining unified. We've always had a great relationship between the board, administration, and and I'll be honest, when you're a principal, I know you know board members, and and sometimes you work with them this club or that club, but you don't really spend time with them. I remember when I moved to central office, I was just really impressed and pleased with the relationship between our board members and our administration. And I think that's important because we're all on the same team, and we all need to be moving in the right direction. Now, at the same time, we should be comfortable asking questions. Okay, and if something's not clear, if it doesn't seem right, that's fine. But once again, we've always had a relationship. If there's a question, you can ask it. Any board member can ask it, and we respond. And if we still need more information, we do that. So I think once again, just making sure we all remember we're on the same team. We're working for the same thing, and that's for our students in our community. And we want to provide the best education that we can. So,
Well, and I hope that will continue to be the case.
Yes.
I've been on the board now 21 years, and every board I have served with, everybody on every board I've served with has been that way. And you might think, or I know I thought at times, oh, well, this person has a different political philosophy than I do. But then serving with them, it's like, but we both want the same thing.
yes.
We may vote the same way for different reasons, but it's both because we want what is best for the students. And I have been pleased to get, not all boards are like that. At TSBA, obviously, we find boards that won't sit together at dinner. It's like, what? How can you work together that way? But so I am hopeful that will continue. I think it will, because that's just been the tradition in Oak Ridge. That's the way we work. But in terms of what needs to be done, we know we're looking at building an elementary school.
Yes.
We know that we need a school administration building, but those are all infrastructure kind of things. In terms of continuing to work toward not just academic progress, but the whole package of preparing students for life, what things do you think may come up? What additional courses, perhaps? Do we need additional staff in certain areas, and why? I know that there's, and I did not bring the list, but there was a list in the budget this year of the things that were requested but not funded.
Right.
In order to continue the kind of progress we've been making in the last 3 years, what are some of the things that we're going to need to do?
We're going to need greater resources in the area of funding, because once again, if you just look at our enrollment continues to grow. So basically, our enrollment growth is going to be a major concern as we move forward. We have been fortunate to this point. We have taken, for example, you may have a special education teacher in a full-size room. Now that person may be in a full-size room with another teacher. So we have basically taken all of our extra space that could be basically reassigned to be a regular classroom, and we've done that. So we are truly running out of space for students. So So basically, we're going to need additional staff. We're going to need additional classrooms, a new school. At some point, there has to be a plan. You know, our recommendation is to build a new school, but also in that plan is to add additional classrooms to our other schools. I mean, the growth here is it's encouraging. Oak Ridge needs the growth, but it also presents its challenges. And of course, as you know, we have met with multiple vendors that have assisted us in studying this growth and determining what we need and what the recommendation would be. So to address our growth. But I think the other thing is, in some ways too, is staying the course. That the PLCs, I mean, we have the right formula right now. We are seeing growth. We just have talented individuals making that happen. So we don't want to stray away from that. Don't want to be comparative in some ways, but you know, you look at and it's not always about pay, but I will tell you, competitive salaries does allow us to basically recruit some of the best, and that's what we need if we're going to continue to be a strong school district. And once again, that will require funding. You know, you look at Knox County recently; they have basically increased their teacher salaries a lot, and in some areas it may be higher than ours is. So that concerns us because we would not want to lose quality staff. We have highly effective people that perhaps are driving 30, 40 minutes from that direction. That might be intriguing. I would say also staying in touch. I look at what we have added in our CTE, and it's absolutely amazing. I wish everyone in this town could see what we're offering in CTE. And we have created those offerings based on student interest. So we've got to stay in touch with what basically society is needing in the area of jobs and basically what our students are interested in. We need to continue to grow that. And also just continue to maintain and expect high expectations of everyone.
Well, and I think going to the CTE, I think that some of the courses we have added have made a difference in the academic performance, because all of a sudden now we have students learning something that they're interested in, something that they want to know, and then they need this thing over in math, or they need this thing over in English, or they may need something from history. And having that, I think, boosts their academic performance in other areas, simply because they now find, if I'm going to run this machine tool, I need to brush up on my math a little bit in order to do what it is capable of doing. And it is amazing to me when that happens, when a child finds something that they really like and they're interested in, and that causes them to increase their performance in the subjects that they maybe aren't as interested in, because they need it to do this thing they want. I saw that firsthand working with TSA at Robertsville with web design, video game design, that they would need some geometry. So they'd pay a little closer attention and all of a sudden they'd come back and they could do the thing they wanted to do. And that always made me very happy that I get to do this thing I want to do, and it's making me better at this other thing that I don't necessarily want to do.
It definitely improves effort when the students can see the connection, why they need to learn that skill, because it's going to serve them a purpose over here. And we've also seen some of our offerings, and this is not every day, but occasionally we'll have a student basically with an attendance issue, and we'll look at their schedule and we'll be speaking with them, you know, and they may love third block. This is the class, this is where it's at for them. This is what they want to do every day, okay? They're passionate about it, okay? If we can assign that class first period,
they'll show up.
We can get them there every day, okay? We can improve attendance, but it is important that every student have a place that they are passionate about. It's also important that we offer enough to where there's that time to explore. I mean, you know, we have some students that they have no idea where their passion is or what they want to do when high school is over. So if we can offer enough exploratory opportunities, help those students figure out what they want to be and where they want to go, and help them plan their future.
Well, that is a change that has occurred from the time that I was in high school to the time that my kids were in high school, is the state now mandates so many more courses. When I was in high school, I took art just because I wanted to. I had room in my schedule. I finished my required courses. I could have graduated a year early, but my parents wouldn't let me. Probably because I was in that group where the legislature changed the age to December. So I was already graduating at 17, and they're like, 16? Nope.
That happens. Yes.
But I had room in my schedule to take things just because I wanted to, just because I wanted to explore something. My kids did not have much of that option. You know, they took the things that were required, and they had some choices in that. Like, obviously, you're going to take an arts class. Some of them took orchestra, one of them took band, but in terms of having the opportunity to explore, didn't have that so much. So we have more of that now with block scheduling.
We do at the high school, and even our middle schools. When you look at what we're offering, a student can have a good idea when they leave middle school, this is where our interest is. And of course, we have the area of focus. They have to designate what their area of focus will be. But even if, you know, through that process, it can change because the block schedule has created a lot of flexibility. And, you know, and I was at Jefferson Middle School at a time, and we were really moving away from CTE a little bit, and that went against my core values, because I have always realized the importance of a good CTE program. So, and once again, under Dr. Borcher's leadership, he sees the importance of that, and we have grown that program, I guess, probably the highest it's ever been.
It is.
I mean, we have a lot of offerings, and I'm proud of that. And I met with a gentleman yesterday just out in the community, and his question was, I hear they're building an airplane in Oak Ridge High School. Yes, sir, we are. So, and that is unique.
And teaching students to fly.
Yes. So, yes, yeah. We, if the community didn't read it or hear about it, you know, we had students that are already flying solo this year. So you think about it, we have students flying over the high school in a plane solo that are not old enough to drive a car. So that's fascinating. So very encouraging. So
I think that is incredible. I wish that was available when I was in high school.
Yes. Me too. I think I might have taken that opportunity. So
I don't think my parents would have let me, but I would have sure tried.
Yes.
So that, you know, we're about to wrap up.
Okay.
Any final thoughts on Santa Claus came down, said you can have one thing, whatever you want, for next year? What would it be?
One thing next year, wow. You know, I would probably, from the Department of Education, there are some areas where we had a little bit more flexibility to do what was best for students versus the cookie cutter expectation. I just think sometimes we have some things that is not in the best interest of our students nor our staff. And just a little bit of flexibility, and once again, with our current level performance, I think we could show on paper how this will further benefit our students and is the right thing to do. But so it's a little bit better flexibility.
So let them take AP technical writing instead of senior literary analysis.
Some areas like that, yes. There's really multiple areas, you know, and sometimes the graduation rate, I think we're doing an excellent job, but there are some areas of flexibility of that would benefit students and would help them go to that next level. So I would just say flexibility sometimes.
That's good. Thank you for joining us.